So have I ever told you the story about when I first got Stinkor as a kid? Maybe you've heard me tell the story on a podcast, but have you ever heard the story straight from my mother? Well, get ready, because you're gonna hear it today. Hey guys, I am Pixel Dan, and before we get into the fun story of when I first got the Stinkor action figure as a kid, I first want to present a little bit of history of a character who is often considered a misfit in the world of Masters of the Universe. Now, to me that seems a little silly because this whole toy line is essentially made of misfits. There are so many weirdos and oddball characters, but that is what makes Masters of the Universe cool. Stinkor was first released in 1985. The character was an anthropomorphized skunk character, and the figure itself essentially reused the merman body with the mecha neck armor, all recolored to create this brand new skunk character. Throw in a blue version of the Castle Grayskull shield accessory and, well, they called it a day. Except, Stinkor had one special element that we didn't really see in a lot of other figures. He stunk. That's right, Mattel actually injected patchouli into the plastic to give him a fragrant smell that they said was a stinky smell. It's funny because I don't necessarily think he smells all that bad. I mean, I guess it really depends on if you think patchouli is a bad smell, but the fact that he was marketed as a stinky, smelly action figure certainly tricked your brain into thinking that that's not something you wanted to smell. And the fact that he's often referred to as a misfit or a really weird idea is one of those things that in hindsight, it's funny to laugh at him, but you gotta think in the mindset of the toy companies. There were toys that were very popular at the time on the girls' side called Strawberry Shortcake, and the gimmick there was that they all smelled pleasant, like various fruits, strawberries, grapes, blueberries. So the idea here, kind of keying into that whole gross out mentality we saw in a lot of boys' toys, was what if we do that for boys but make it stinky instead of pleasant smelling? And you can see where the idea of Stinkor really makes sense. So the character was presented to Lou Scheimer and the creators over at Filmation for inclusion in one of the animated series, but once they read the description of the character, apparently everybody at Filmation started laughing and decided that he would never actually make an appearance in either the He-Man or She-Ra cartoons. So his legacy is essentially with the action figure, which we did get the original one in the 80s, and he's made a comeback here and there via Masters of the Universe Classics. But he's got a bit of a different legacy for me personally. You see, when I was first given Stinkor as a child, well, I was terrified of him. And to tell you guys the story of how it all happened, I'm gonna go ahead and turn things over to my mother, Tina Erdley. Let's hear what she has to say about the year I received Stinkor.
Oh boy, you were into He-Man big time. Loved the cartoon, so we used to go on these little excursions, MOTU, and Kmart, the store to go to at the time, and hunt for all your different figures. Go through everything, trying to find these figures you wanted. And when you were watching the program and Stinkor was on it, and you were going on and on and on, you gotta have that figure, gotta have that figure.
Ew! The evil smell of Stinkor will overpower He-Man. We'll trap that skunk.
Man-at-Arms, He-Man, Stinkor, and Skeletor figures each sold separately.
I smell trouble! Man-at-Arms cannot escape the evil smell of Stinkor. Now, He-Man! Smell your own stink, Stinkor! Yar!
Stinkor with real smell is new from the Masters of the Universe collection. Other action figures each sold separately from Mattel.
Couldn't find it anywhere, kept looking. Finally found it one day and I brought it home to you. Never forget the reaction I got from you. I'm so excited, I pulled it out. I said, look, I got Stinkor. You took it you smelled it and started screaming, "No, no, it stinks, I don't want it," and threw it. "No, no." And I'm trying to calm you down because, I mean, you went hysterical. You were just, "It's bad, it stinks, get it away, it stinks." And I'm like, "Okay, great." I said, okay, I'll take it back." And so I take it out of your room and your dad's like, "What did you do to that child?" I said, "I gave him the figure he wanted." I put it in my closet, put it in a bag, and I just put it in a closet. I thought, well, maybe he'll want it later, because it was one of the figures that was hard to get. So I thought, I'm not going to take it back. So I hid it. And then finally you kind of brought it up because he was on the program again, and he was like, "I think I want Stinkor." And I'm like, "Well, you didn't like him. You didn't like him. You didn't like the smell in that." "Oh, I think I want to try him again." So I'm thinking, oh, I don't know if I want to do this because you were pretty upset with this figure. And then finally I was like, well, maybe we'll try this again. And so I found another figure you wanted, which I can't remember which one it was at the time. And I got that, and I got Stinkor, and I put them both together and gave them to you, and you're like, "Well, he don't stink so bad now." And I'm like, "Okay, all right, this is really fun."
And then I was just okay after
Then
that.
you were okay after that. You opened them up and you started playing with them, and he was fine. But that
Super weird.
first reaction was, I mean, you were hysterical. It was so funny. Your dad's like, "Maybe we shouldn't buy any more of these for him."
So several years ago, as part of my collection, I acquired a Stinkor action figure that was still sealed on his original blister card, but the bottom portion of that had been cut open, so he wasn't mint on card. But the thing that was beautiful about this was that you can kind of peel that open, and the Stinkor smell was perfectly preserved inside. It smelled so strong compared to what most loose Stinkor figures do today. So I've kept it that way, and in fact I put it in an extra clamshell case to kind of preserve the smell, as silly as that sounds. So I wanted to see if my mom actually remembered the way that Stinkor smelled by introducing her to this figure. So do you remember what Stinkor smells like? Do you remember the smell?
Yeah, it did kind of smell like a skunk. It was pretty powerful at the time.
So this guy's a little open here. Why don't you smell him, see if you can remember what he smells like.
Oh,
Do you remember that?
Yes. I don't know why anybody would want this toy. But I think at the time, I mean, this is probably because it's been open for a while, but yours, when you had the package and it's brand new, you could smell.
Really?
And I think that's why you would just, because,
Like
I
it-
mean, the odor from that, you put it up and you can actually smell how strong it was. Yeah, and
I was just scared.
and you just went hysterical. Ah!
It's amazing. It's amazing.
It was fun. I thought I traumatized you.
So there you have it. For some reason, the smell of Stinkor terrified me. I didn't want anything to do with that action figure when she first handed it to me, even though it's something that I asked her to buy for me. I really couldn't tell you what was going through my mind at the time because I have no idea. But I remember this. This is one of those memories that vividly remains in my brain. I can remember the day that she handed me that toy, me looking at it and bursting into tears, telling her to get it away from me. But I honestly can't tell you why I felt the way I did. And you know what? Eventually, I did ask for that Stinkor again, and it became one of my favorite figures. To this day, I still love Stinkor, and maybe it has something to do with that silly memory that I still have. I think the memories is part of what makes collecting these figures so much fun. remembering the times that we had with them as kids, and even when it's the silly memories like being afraid of an action figure. Now, one of the things that I thought was really cool while talking to my mom about this is that not only did she have a story about Stinkor, but this also got her to talk about what it was like to hunt down these figures during the heyday in the 80s.
It's so funny because He-Man, when it first came out and you started watching it, it was like gradual. People were getting into it and that. And so when you wanted the figures, we got you some of the figures for Christmas and stuff. It was easy to find. But then all of a sudden, like Prince Adam and Tila and Ram Man, and then it was just like the figures came out, certain things, and you're like, oh, I want this one and I want this one. So you go out there and the shelf would be people literally around the He-Man stuff going through trying to find the figures and going, is anybody looking for this one? I'm looking for this one. And trying to find these figures that you want. And I got so that I knew a person that used to work at Kmart, and she would let me know when their new shipments would come in. So I would go over there and pack you up and go over there to see if we could find the figures you want and that. And if I didn't get there in time, she would hide them in a certain spot for me. And I'd go over to the store and I'd go over and she'd hide it like underneath these certain towels or something, a figure that I want.
That's incredible!
Yeah, and you know, there's a lot of people, you know, and trying to get the figures you wanted. And so
Some people are still doing that today, but it's us.
Yes.
We're the toy collectors.
The toy collectors are doing that.
So
but
we
here,
learned that from our moms.
you learned it from your mothers. I was the original toy hunter.
I love it!
And your dad would get so mad at me. He'd go, what are you doing? Would you just get away? Don't buy any more figures. And I got so that I had to find those figures. I was like, but he needs this one.
Well, anybody wants to know where I got it from?
So you got it from your mother.
So there you go. My mom, the original toy hunter. I love hearing about that. I think a lot of us as collectors now sort of remember that we could walk into the stores and just find any figure that we wanted, but I don't think that was the case, at least not according to my mom, who says that she used to spend a lot of time and making friends at the stores trying to track down the new figures just so that she can give them to me, so she can make her son happy. It's kind of amazing to see how that correlates to the way a lot of us collect today. It probably all started with parents like my mom. This has been a really fun video for me to make, and I hope it was something that was enjoyable for you guys to watch. I really have to thank my mom for agreeing to sit down. I know she's a little camera shy, so when I get a chance to actually convince her to sit down and give one of these stories and kind of go through the memories of me as a kid, I love it, and it makes me happy that I can capture it so that I can always look back on it as well. So I hope this helped to not only entertain you guys, but maybe bring up some of your own nostalgic feelings and memories for what it was like collecting Masters of the Universe or any of your favorite toys when you were a kid.
The Toys of He-Man and the Masters of the Universe is available for pre-order now. This official guidebook is published by Dark Horse Books and features over 750 pages of photos and information on your favorite He-Man and She-Ra action figures. And don't miss out on the exclusive bundle pack available for pre-order now from PowerCon. This bundle includes the official guide as well as an exclusive character guide supplement that you won't be able to buy anywhere else. Don't miss out. You have the power.